Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Bitstorm.
Okay, we're going to do something that we haven't done for a little while, which is just because we don't really want to improvise tonight. We thought, let's do some game reviews from games that we've been playing recently and over the last, 6 months or so.
Yeah, you and I play a bunch of games. We each have Game Pass. We buy games.
We've got Black Market Game Pass now.
Yep. We get onto the dark web sometimes and look at indie games that are there. A lot of stuff that maybe doesn't hit the mainstream. So we like to talk about some of those games that we've played and give our sort of impressions.
Yeah.
Did you want to hit us with your first game tonight, Trevor?
Yes. Okay, my first game is Nighttime Ballet Choreographer.
Yeah, that's a fun one to pronounce, that one.
Yes. Old NBC Nighttime Ballet Choreographer.
As it's known, it's, fan base.
Yeah, the small following it's got on the dark web.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this because it was quite interesting to have a VR game where you had to actually have a Kinect so that you could do the full. Oh, that's how they've gone choreography.
That's how they've gone with sort of doing the full body thing. Yeah, because there's obviously a few ways that can be done these days. But you, of course, you've always got old peripherals hanging about.
I've got heaps of old peripherals. I've got the Kinect is literally just sitting up up here above where I'm sitting.
So, I mean, I'm curious because I didn't play this one. I don't have a Kinect. I tried out.
I invited you over and you kept on saying, nah.
It's too far, Trevor, to go now. I live too far away from you now.
You're still close. You can get here in 3 minutes by car.
Yeah, but look, I've got a lot going on.
It's not 2 minutes.
I've got a lot going on, Trev. No, I didn't manage to come and try it. I did try out sort of the, I gave it a quick go without the Kinect because they have sort of a compatibility mode, but it obviously needs. Ballet is so leg and body centric,
Yeah. Yeah. And the good thing is you can sort of just give the general pose and the models make it look amazing.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's from what I could tell, it's a very much the sort of wish fulfillment that you want out of a game in general, particularly a VR game. You feel they've done a really good job of making it feel like you are choreographing this ballet and then performing.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get the DLC, so I didn't get to do the performance part because that's only part of the actual, DLC. I think they called it opening night or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So all I got to do was choreograph the whole thing, and then I got to sit in the audience and watch them perform my insane routine.
That's what I thought was cool was that you essentially you choreograph the whole ballet in pieces. You'd say, okay, this is this person, we're going to do the lead, whatever, the lead male. I don't know the ballet terms and stuff, but we're going to do them first, and you play out their whole thing, including where they're going to lift and where they're going to spin people and different things. And then you sort of switch over. It's okay, now I'm doing the ballerina part, and you plan out their moves, and you sort of have to, it's only going to look good if you sync them up. Which is where really the skill comes in.
Yeah, you've really got to get that timing nailed right down. Mm-hmm. But I tell you what, VR can sometimes be a tricky or a fickle beast.
Yeah.
Because you really do feel like you're right in there. And there were once or twice that I thought, oh yeah, he can catch me. And I nearly jumped. Nearly jumped.
Yeah. I was going to ask how they handled, because I didn't play that far in, how they handled, the lifts and things when you're up in the air, essentially.
Oh, it feels like you're being lifted.
Yeah.
And it's a bit disorienting because you're
not for people who get motion sick with their VR. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool though.
One thing I really did like though was that as you were doing it, it kind of knew how to push you back into where the camera was.
Oh,
it did a couple little tricks.
It's got one of those sort of smart things where it sort of keeps track so that it knows if you need to go in a certain direction.
So
it has you turned around correctly and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a stage where, you sort of, you head off screen and you walk through like this tiny little maze sort of thing. And then all of a sudden you come out again and it's like, it lights up and says, yep, you can choreograph again. And you're choreographing through this part.
But it's all immersive still. Yeah.
But it's really immersive.
That's
you
cool.
need a lot of space though.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, even just one, ballet kick or whatever. Jump.
One jump and, my head nearly hit the fan.
Yeah.
So I had to turn the fan off.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah. I was impressed by your kicks though, because you showed me the video of your final thing.
I streamed it. At least I think you joined the live stream.
I saw some and then, I got worried for your safety and I turned it off because I just didn't want to see you fall over and hurt yourself.
Yeah.
I thought that was the most appropriate thing to do.
I thought this was really cool. It had audio, which was amazing. Visuals.
It had audio. Is that like a plus for a game now for you?
It's always been a plus. It has audio.
Just that it has, I just thought it was kind of a base level thing for a game to have audio, but.
Yeah, it has audio and it has visuals, so therefore, I give it my 2 points.
Right, okay. Yeah. This is your...
Oh, and it has VR, and it gets the extra point for that.
Right, okay.
And the Kinect, so it's already up to 4.
So you just keep adding points. It's not out of anything, you just keep adding points based on just things that you liked about it. I mean, that's fine. It's still the higher the better, so presumably.
What was your first one that you want to review this week?
I played a bunch of Bionic Devil Voyage, which is this really cool, like Metroidvania kind of thing, set in hell. Partially set in hell. As it says, it's a voyage. You find yourself, in the human realm to start with as this sort of little mini
robotic devil.
Yeah, well, you're not robotic to start with, but they very quickly. It's very early on that it's almost sort of an opening cutscene thing, and then you find yourself with bionic legs, and that's the first sort of addition to your demon body.
Yeah, I was really quite impressed that they got the license from the old Bionic Man series.
Yeah,
so
it is technically like a spin-off.
Yeah, so they had the whole, we can rebuild him, all that.
I think actually they got the license. I think they got the license just for that phrase and the sound, because there's no real other tie-ins to story or anything.
Oh, it cost $6 million to upgrade the devil.
Right. Okay. That's almost a little Easter egg though, because you don't see that until you've fully upgraded and it shows you because you've got the costs that are building as you go.
Oh, didn't you see the little price tag on the side that was there the whole time? Like it was fully physically rendered and everything. It was just on your leg.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's what that was.
There's $3 million on each one, so there were 2 little price tags just flicking around.
That was a good use of some nice little physics clothing objects. But yeah, no, I thought it was quite good the way that it is all one space, like a lot of like Metroidvanias often are, but had so much variety. You obviously do unlock the doorway to hell.
And that allows you to fast travel so easily between the different places that you want to go, because obviously space and time works very differently in hell.
Once you sort of regain your access to hell, then you get those additional traversal powers and that sort of thing.
I thought it was really quite interesting that they sort of took the idea of, hell is literally infinite. So
that was something new for Metroidvania. Absolutely. That they had areas of essentially endless space.
Endless space that you could do anything you wanted, and then when you came back, because of the cyclical nature of hell, like it didn't matter how long you were there for, you could come out at any time that you sort of wanted to. So if you wanted to come out in the past, you could sometimes see yourself going in and pass your previous self.
Yeah, and they got away from some of the complexities of that you couldn't actually like interact with your your other selves, but they were definitely recording in some way your motions at different times, and they had a few puzzles essentially that you had to go back into the past to actually cause a thing then that you'd previously seen. Like I think there was like the tree that's blocking one of the areas. You actually require, like at the beginning, it's blocking, but you can go back into the past, go through there. That's actually how you get through to that area, and then there's sort of
knock down the tree.
And then you have to knock down the tree as part of moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
and then later on, you can use your bionic legs to actually give you the strength to lift the tree.
Yeah, well, that's it. Once you've powered them
open up later on,
and added some bionic hands and things too, then you get much more strength and ability to lift things.
And the hydraulics were amazing.
Well, and I liked that sort of little nod as well to like Bionic Commando, that you had like you got the grapple thing later on.
Yeah.
And
it was just weird it was in the leg. That, it was sort of going upside down.
The animations are so good. Yeah. You essentially like almost walking upside down, but they extend out to grapple one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the animations on that were great.
And, later on when you got the bionic wings, that was really quite cool. And,
well, and you make such good use of them in the Infinite Hell sections, because then you can really like travel and.
Yeah, and that's where some of the Easter eggs were. Like, don't know whether you found the door to heaven.
Oh, where was that?
It was behind Satan's office.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so you went in there, and it was literally
I should have known to go through the waterfall. Like, there's always shit behind waterfalls, and of course, I just thought it was a waterfall.
The waterfall of blood in his office. You go through there, and there's a door, and you come out the other side, and it's just, I mean, they kind of cheaped out on it. It was a palette swap. Like, it was exactly the same as
the same office. It was God's office, basically.
You went through the waterfall on the other side, and now it was blue, and everything's white and not red anymore. And it's like,
it's fun though. It's a fun little thing.
Kind of peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. The weird thing was that you saw some of the other enemies that you'd killed, like either in hell or heaven, depending on
Yeah. Well, that's a good
story
point. And I liked that they added in like that some of the enemies that you faced had that sort of personality to them, and were named enemies and that sort of thing. And based on certain decisions you've made.
On whether to kill them or not, they turned up in either heaven or hell if they were killed.
They still end up dying, but it's based on your conversations with them. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I know, I liked it. I'm not gonna score things. It's too much work. It was good.
Okay, can I talk about the game that you and I have been playing on and off in between our rounds of Fortnite? Violent Hamster Paratroopers.
Yes, of course.
I know that, we've been playing this so much.
I mean, and I think it's appropriate that we've been playing it in between Fortnite rounds, because there are some similarities there, of course.
There really are. I mean, it's pretty much Battle Royale with hamsters, and they're violent. They've got weapons. You can put little suits on them and all this sort of stuff, and little costumes. And the whole name of the game is literally you've got continuous like parachutes and shit that you can deploy, and it's a very vertical based.
I was going to say I really like the verticality of it, and that you use those parachutes a lot. It really lets you sneak up on people, particularly people who are new to the game and not used to just things coming down from above all the time. But, while you're parachuting, you're so quiet. It's actually a really good way to get close to someone without them being able to hear you.
Except when the wind catches it the first time, where you hear
Yeah. And there are those areas of, more wind and obviously if you get stuck in a tornado, then that's noisy, but you get sent back up. One of the ways that you kind of also go up, and rather than always parachuting down, because of course that's there's only so much you can come down.
I really loved like things like the big water bottles to give you health. You know, you got the big water bottles and you can just lick the droplets and that gives you the health back. And
again, like
hamster balls.
The animations
like
just really make it for the theme of the whole thing. Yeah, I really liked some of the weapons, you know, being able to shoot out. I mean, your base thing sort of just being the hamster pellets, not the food pellets.
Not the other hamster pellets.
They didn't quite go as crass as the other hamster pellets.
That was a drop. That was only for one season. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, then they've altered them.
Yeah.
As they want to do.
I mean, and I think that was a good choice in this case.
But what I also loved was the fact that it felt like if you looked up, because they were all kind of cages that you were in, you could actually see all the way up, you know, 3-4 cages above and see fights that were going on there and you know,
it's cool.
Do
and
some scaling, run through some of the clear tubing to get up to the next cage and then jumping out.
I do love how much activity you sort of see at any one time, and they've made good use, as Fortnite does, of Unreal to really give you that really nice view distance and everything looks great. I loved some of the traversal stuff as well, the non-parachute stuff, like the hamster wheel and the hamster ball, you know, each having their own kind of benefits. Obviously the ball being a bit more maneuverable, but couldn't quite get to the same top speed as the actual like wheel that you're running along through. Yeah.
I mean, the wheel is how you actually got your stamina up, and you could climb a little bit longer and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know? What I liked is, though, unlike, you know, Fortnite where the storm is always coming towards the center, there's almost that thing of you've got lots of area to sort of roam around in. It's not quite as big an island, but you do have those large towers of verticality. But you get to a certain point and it comes in from all sides, including bottom and top.
Well,
so
and that's it.
Pulls you down into a certain cage.
It does compress
that you're going to end.
And I thought what was cool is the way that instead of just having like a barrier, you know, or the storm like Fortnite does, that it all starts crumbling. Like it starts falling to pieces, or, you know, or you see someone come and take the top cage away and it's like, okay, well that area is out of it now. And of course, you know, if you're in that area, you've got a little bit of time to parachute off and hopefully make your way back to, the landscape that is still active essentially. But,
and that's when you got to look for those updrafts and you got to look for, you know, the different ways to keep up in the air just a little bit longer.
Exactly. That was cool. And then the character customization stuff was great. Being able to, you know, different lengths of fur, different, you know, again, the shaders on the hair and stuff was so cool that you could, but you could be kind of a scruffy hamster or a nice, sleek, shining one. I like that they added guinea pigs in there too.
One of the things I really did enjoy is the fact that, unlike Fortnite, where the whole thing is around, you know, collectibles and being able to miss out on these things, you can never miss out on any of these things because you have to create all the things yourself. Like you get to choose the pattern. You can even upload new,
it almost
new textures,
like a
stuff,
Forza level of the customization to really, your different fur colors. Even like specular maps and stuff, so you could have an area of your fur that is scruffy and an area that is more sleek and shiny. And it really gives you a lot of ability to really express yourself. And then of course the accessories and things with the hats and harnesses and
flamethrowers, all the regular hamster stuff that you'd expect to have in a game called Violent Hamster Paratroopers. So I'm going to give it 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, my next game that I've been playing, Go Gnome Saga, which is an interesting little semi-rhythm based RPG.
Okay.
Where you play like a garden gnome. It's kind of...
Oh, yes. Yes. Now I'm remembering it. Like,
yeah. So
I was thinking other type of gnomes, like D&D gnomes, like not garden gnomes.
This is very much the sort of stubby little garden gnomes, and I loved how deep they went into some of the gnome lore for garden gnomes. Like, this is literally in people's gardens. You don't really see people. It's almost they don't really address it. It feels almost post-human, but it could just, like, it's not clear. Like, it's not like it's a desolate space. All of the gardens are upkept. Well, I mean, not all of them, but, like, there are upkept gardens. Yeah. So I don't know if it's sort of just implying the gnomes don't interact with the humans. They almost live on a different, their consciousness is on a different realm or something. But it's very much a human world that you're in.
One of the things I did like was that, the procedurally generated gardens that would be created each time that you go to do another run.
Yeah, well, that's it. We haven't mentioned that yet, obviously, but the roguelike nature of it, particularly for an RPG, I mean, roguelikes in a sense are RPG. Like, you've got a lot of the stats and your upgrades and stuff, but this very much had that narrative going through, and just the runs change so much as you sort of make your way through the story, which I thought was really cool. The way that they did meld that procedural generation of essentially a run or a level. And I mean, it almost played more like an extraction shooter kind of thing rather than a traditional roguelike, because dying wasn't a restart. If you fail a run, essentially, then you lose some resources. You don't get, it's that risk reward thing of you want to gather your stuff.
And you don't want to be too cracked because they had to kind of glue you back together and all this sort of stuff. Yeah,
well, and that was a really cool way of handling the kind of both the health mechanic and then your max health sort of thing. Like, until you got back to someone who could really plaster you back together.
I mean, until you got to the point where you had your own kiln. Like, and then you could really put yourself back together properly.
Well, that's it. You can build yourself new bodies and things then too. Yeah. Because obviously the fragile nature of the porcelain, or
ceramic
clay,
or whatever it is.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Ceramic is what I meant. Necessitates
heat.
And just necessitates some level of being able to, create new, what's the word? Anyway, new bodies.
Yeah. What I really liked was as you went through the game and you sort of saw the families, from a distance, they then start to change. And as one of the families, from the lower side of the neighborhood, their kid would, all of a sudden, be into, loud metal t-shirts and all this sort of stuff, and always be carrying around a baseball bat. And you had to be very careful so that you didn't, get smashed by. Yeah. I just called him Sid. Like, he just, he looked like the kid from Toy Story.
Yeah, that's true. There were some humans in there, even though they mostly didn't show them. Like, they weren't a huge part of the gameplay. But I did like that extra flavor they added, and the way that it was then reflected in the gardens. Like, when you were in those, that type of garden, it was, it wasn't as well kept. There were different sorts of creatures in there that, that you would expect. You come up against rats and different things rather than
snakes,
just rats. Rather than in the sort of the more well kept gardens, it's more about, dog, like pets and things, bugs
and snails.
That you'd find snails, like things that that you might find in a more well kept garden. But yeah, one thing I did like, and speaking of the kiln and the new bodies, was, obviously because a gnome's body is baked in, essentially, that when you did upgrade, that was where your character customization came in, was when you essentially make yourself a new gnome body. Yep. But B, even changing tools and things, like your main tool, you needed to,
to glue in there, basically,
and set your new pose, which I thought was really cool. And they had a lot of great pose selections, that worked really well.
Yeah, it was so really cool. I really, really enjoyed it. But I don't remember it being called
Go Gnome Saga.
Go Gnome Saga.
Yeah, that might be like a translation thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's a Russian game, I think. Interestingly. And which came across a little bit in the sort of sensibilities of it and the aesthetics of it.
Yeah.
We didn't mention, because of course there are minor rhythm elements, mostly in the combat, and you do kind of have these, again, sort of the Eastern European or Russian soundtracks going on that sort of have this heavy beat and stuff, and it would just really came down to, attacking on the beat, and you'd get some bonuses and things. I'm glad the best way to make that a huge part of it, but
the best way to describe it is think Tetris and the different songs, and like that, but less manic.
Yeah, less manic. A bit of the Papers, Please sort of stuff. Not quite as plodding as that. Like somewhere between Tetris and Papers, Please. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on.
We'll make this one a little bit quicker, but I have to talk about everybody loves the jetpack.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool, like 1 or 2 screen adventure game. Like,
yeah, well, it was quite surreal in a lot of ways.
It was set in a factory.
Mm-hmm.
And it was set in the office at the front, and then the scientist lab, basically. And, people would come up and they'd ask to see the jetpack, and then they'd go inside, and then they'd never come out.
Mm.
And it was sort of going through the mystery and realizing that when people went into the scientist lab, they fell in love with the jetpack and they couldn't stop looking at it. And it was,
yeah, well, so what I found funny, obviously there were a few Everybody Loves Raymond references in there, with some of the characters and stuff. And
I mean, the canned laughter that also sort of felt.
And that's what I meant by surreal. Like, it didn't have sitcom esque jokes and things, but then you'd get this laughter in there at these strange places. And I think that's clearly Everybody Loves Raymond inspirations here, but then they've sort of shoved it into a very different type of story. So, but yeah, the surreal nature of it it gave a really interesting tone, right?
Really did. I really love the relationship that happened between the receptionist and the scientist.
Mm-hmm.
The scientist knew that he'd made something that was going to be addictive, but somehow had this love or unrequited love, I suppose you could call it, for the receptionist that, got him out of the spell of the jetpack.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if they were intentionally sort of trying to make almost a moralistic thing there of, a more wholesome love being the key to breaking the obsession sort of thing. I'm glad they didn't really show us the jetpack fully.
I imagine that you'd never want to actually leave the room. It was sort of, by the time that you got in there, everyone was crowded around it. So therefore,
so you kind of got little glimpses of it. But I'm really glad that they didn't just end up showing, because obviously in a game they're not going to be able to actually live up to what they've built up then.
I mean, the main menu just showing the blueprints.
Yeah,
and just
that was cool. That was cool.
Having that go across and then another one scanning from underneath and model 1, model 2, and it's totally different. So you
don't actually know what the final one is. Yeah. I mean, just the fact of it being that it's a jetpack that has enthralled people to this degree, to a hypnotic degree, is so surreal and ridiculous. But it worked. It worked well. I liked it.
But and then the twist at the end. I don't know whether we should say it. But
I mean, maybe just give a hint.
Sentience.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's
Well, I mean, that's a pretty big giveaway,
but maybe we'll leave it. We won't go too much into the sort of how it ends. But
check
it out.
If you can find it on the dark web,
get out your onion browser and So I guess last one, probably. This one was cool and a bit of I liked anyway, Galactic shaving on the Oregon Trail.
Yes.
So this is basically not a remake. Like it's not the same gameplay as Oregon Trail, but it is essentially a sci-fi space-based Oregon Trail-esque, traveling.
And what I liked is, they've got Oregon Trail in the name, but it's just, I think that was to get name recognition because it was actually called the Orion Trail in the actual game.
Yes.
So, it felt more space-like.
That's it.
But,
and interesting for them to put shaving in there. I think that, again, they were just looking for something unique because yes, there are, you can cut yourself shaving as one of the things and end up with an infection and die. Like as with the Oregon Trail, there are
lots of different things to shave. Lots of different things to shave. You're not just shaving
yourself. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I took it to be, you were shaving the skin off of the apples with the blades, and you were shaving the wool off the spaceship.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I guess we should, for anyone who's played Oregon Trail, you get a sense of the gameplay. You kind of set up your starting
location,
your location and your gear and your people. You've essentially got this sort of space caravan going.
Space convoy.
Space convoy.
We got a big space convoy.
And you essentially, and I mean, one of the reasons that you and I love this so much is storylets, right? Like they've made good use of storylets that as you are going through this trail, I mean, it's got sort of an FTL-ish vibe, or I mean, FTL-ish kind of had an Oregon Trail vibe, I guess, in a sense of, you go through locations and
coming across different groups,
different stories, different little things that you just have to resolve in different ways based on the resources you have and the people you have and their traits.
And
then as you've got some of the mundane day-to-day sorts of things that you also end up resolving, again, based on your resources and stuff, like shaving and food.
One of my favorite storylets that happened in my game was just one that came out of nowhere where on the first night we came across like a group of bandits that instead of fighting them, we befriended with like beer and pretzels and all this sort of stuff. And David, their leader, actually joins
the caravan.
Joined the caravan and fell in love with my character whose name was Chrissy.
Yep. And
they just had all this different stuff going on. He actually helped, save the caravan. It's the only one that I got very close to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's what I
say
love.
Very close because, we got 69% through the Orion Trail.
Nice. That's what I love about A, storylets, and B, just the system-based nature of it is that you can, like these sorts of games are often described, they're story-making engines then, right? Yeah. Like, You've just told this story of coming across bandits, befriending them, falling in love with them, and then having them be the hero that essentially, nearly got you to the end.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't planned. The storylet itself didn't even have that. It's just like once the resolution of that initial storylet was that character joins your crew, and then it was the traits and the interactions between your characters that are in your crew that built it from there. Like,
yeah,
I love that sort of stuff. And this does it really well. And it's just a lot of depth to it. And, you just end up with a lot of those, what's the word? I always try to say immersive, but that's not what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
This happens.
Emergent.
Fuck. Every single time I try to think of the word emergent. Yeah. So much cool little emergent stories that come out of it.
I could have done with less graphic sex scenes, though.
I mean, that might have been, I didn't get that many. That might have been your RNG on the storylets that got built, but
it got really graphic there for a little bit. You saw shit that you really didn't want to see, and you couldn't skip it.
Well, and we talked about the shaving. Like, there were many different things that got shaved. So
many different things that got shaved.
And particularly when they weren't all like they're aliens in the game. They're a different species of creature. I was impressed.
We shouldn't talk about the eight-legged being.
It didn't only have 8 legs, did it?
No.
Between each 2 legs, there was
lots of hair, lots of hair,
and some sort of genetic instrument.
Yes. Need you say more? The fact that you saw all of it, it was really graphic. But anyway, I love the story. Let's
this is why this game ends up sticking to the dark web and hasn't had a wider release.
Yeah,
which is disappointing in a way. But look, they've got their artistic goals, their vision, and they've stuck to it. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah. Well, look,
I think that's it.
Yeah, let's finish it up there. If you want to find our previous episodes online, go to podchaser.com/bitstorm and shoot us a review. Let us know if you've played any of these games. If you're, one to venture out in the dark web as well. Tell us what you thought.
If you like the song that we play at the start and end of each episode, that is Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure by the band Kuradust. You can find it at kuradust.bandcamp.com. It's free.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I have 8 penises.